The next dynasty, part of it, is the Ox family.
Yes, well, the Ox family, of course, John's father was a classic winning trainer. But when we think of John Oxley, there's one horse that just stands out among all the other great horses that he's trained, and he's trained many great horses, is See the Stars. Now, this is a horse that it was a masterclass in racehorse training, what he achieved, because See the Stars won 6 Group 1s and 6 different months, and 6 consecutive months, and that was in 3 different countries. And of course, who will ever forget his triumph in the Arc de Triomphe? I think it was one of the greatest races I've ever seen. And Mick Kinane actually gave him a peach of a ride that day.
And the Curragh Cup is here. John Ox, of course, won it on 6 occasions.
This was probably one of his favourite races because he obviously won it so many times. As also, both himself and his father were great trainers of mares, fillies. The record with fillies going back was phenomenal as well. And of course, Ridgewood Pearl would be the most outstanding winner of 4 Group 1s in 4 different countries. Sean Coughlin's great mare and her statues outside. So he had obviously a wonderful mare in Ridgewood Pearl, and to keep her at her prime and travel the world and win is a testament to how great a trainer he is.
And Timarita being another one of many to spring.
Yes, and of course she'd been an Aga Khan pedigree, tough, strong sort of mare, and obviously a brilliant mare as well.
And John Ox, his record down through the years is phenomenal. It wasn't just long distance horse he could train as well, because he had the likes of Namid, who I think was champion sprinter, was he? No?
Yes, Namid, yes. And even his father before him, Majority Blue, when I was a young guy, was a very good sprinter. So he Linkris won the St. Leger for them. So the trip wasn't an issue, obviously. If he had the goods, he could win whatever was given to him over any distance.
There's Dave Phillips leading up the
yes.
93.
This was wonderful. This was the mold breaker, really, and great credit to Dermot Weld and his staff and Mick Kinane to take that venture, to go down into the Aussies' backyard and to win so readily. It's been tried so many times since that, but that will be the benchmark set for all horses going to Australia. And it was a wonderful time, I remember coming up after he came back and we were all invited around to see him. And of course Vintage Crop was an exceptional horse, because I remember seeing him winning group races over 1 mile and 2 here, and then over 2 miles, and he was the epitome of what you would call a big-hearted, talented horse.
He wasn't happy with just doing it once, he had to go back and do it again. Media puzzle.
Yes, a media puzzle, and of course the story attached to that, and the jockey and all of that. A wonderful story again. And let's hope Dermot decides that he needs to do it 3 in a row, and there's no better man to set his sights on doing something like that.
Here we have more memorabilia at the Master of Roswell House.
Well, yes, as you can see, the photograph here is very, very early 70s. It's Charlie Weld, who's Dermot's father, very, very successful trainer as well. And Dermot took over the mantle in 1972. In fact, even in his first season training, he was champion trainer. Now, Meidler stood out synonymous too with Irish racing, and Dermot has had tremendous success for them all over the world.
There was if we look right up at the top picture, the founder of Meidler stud was the late Walter Hafner. And is that Stan Cosgrove this with him?
Stan Cosgrove, and Stan is nearly 90 years of age now and a great stalwart. And Stan, I was speaking to him a couple of years ago, and he said they never had a row. That was Walter Hafner and Stan never had a row. And of course his daughter Eva, she's taken over the mantle now.
And of course the Meidler Stud Stakes, is that one of the longest sponsorships in Irish
Yes,
race?
it would be quite one. I'm not quite sure whether it's the longest, but I'd imagine it is. I mean, they're sponsoring that race going back into the early 80s, from the early 80s up to the present day, and some great horses have won that race.
One of the most famous families involved in the Curragh has to be the Prendergast.
Absolutely. Paddy Darky Prendergast left an indelible mark on Irish racing, and there are so many. Being a native of Kildare myself, and he was born in Athy, a journeyman jockey. Came back during the Second World War, tried to join the RAF and wasn't taken in. Came back and set up training. He went on to be the first Irish trainer to win the British title, and he won it 3 years in a row in the 60s. And he was a wonderful trainer of 2-year-olds. He won 7 1500s in the Phoenix Park. His record then 4 Irish derbies as well. A great raconteur, a man full of charm, brought over a lot of American owners to Ireland, and again left a big mark on Irish racing.
One of the best scenes I've seen at the Curragh, as long as I'm coming here since a kid, was this year when his son Kevin Prendergast won the 2,000 guineas, I think 40 years after he'd last won it with Altad.
That's right, yes, again, and that great racing dynasty, and they've played a vital part in the current success we have in racing.
Picture with Darky and his staff in the yard, Rossmore, of course, which unfortunately is no longer in use.
That's right, yes, and he had a wonderful staff. There's lots of photographs. He moved in to Cadeen, which is now the hotel, and he lived in Cadeen for many years. And he was a sad loss to Irish racing because, as I said, charismatic. He was a raconteur, the type of man that you would like to spend time with. And you would enjoy his company immensely. A
bit like his son Kevin Prendergast, and of course his other son Paddy Jr. He trained very successfully, and now his grandson Patrick Jr. is doing
very well. Yes, indeed.
Obviously, Aidan O'Brien, he needs no introduction, Jim.
Aidan, I'm talking about what happened in the last 50, 100 years, 150 years. We won't be around in 50 years when they're talking about Aidan, but I would love to be able to have a glimpse of what the experts will be, how they will describe his record, because certainly anything has gone before him. He has surpassed everything that's been done, and the sky seems to be still the limit. He hasn't reached the zenith, and good health to him, and may it continue.
We move on to Jim Bulger, San Jovite. I remember him breaking the course record, 1992. I was only a nipper back then, but he bolted up.
He won with his mouth open, and again, Jim has left a great mark in Irish racing. A man that you could say didn't have a traditional racing background, but in his own way, he found the first rung of the ladder, and he kept climbing. And his success rate shows that he got to the top, and still is at the top.
Of course, the Old Vic Gallop, which is, everybody can see it now. I think it was 1990, was it?
Yes, it was after Old Vic won the Derby that the Sheikh decided, he generously donated the funds for the Old Vic. And and I know the important part the Old Vic has played in the success of horses from the Curragh, going all over the world to win races. It's still a wonderful gallop, and it has stood the test of time. It's been repaired, it's been done up, but we've had the best horses in the world, both from Derby winners, all sorts of classic winners, and Grand National winners, and Cheltenham winners, using the Old Vic. So it's a testament to the generosity of the Sheikh and the value that Irish racing has got out of the Old Vic.
Now I'm going to bring in our new chief executive, Derek McGrath. And Derek, such exciting times here at the Curragh.
Yeah, we're on the cusp of something pretty special. I mean, just considering the history and using this exhibition as an opportunity to really remind ourselves of the story, the heritage, the narrative of what has happened here, the people, the horses. The stories are just immense.
And the whole race course, Derek, is going to be totally redeveloped?
The race track itself won't be touched. That'll be preserved exactly as is. But the race course itself, the stable yards, the facilities for entertaining all of our patrons will all be brand new. This is a depiction of what we see, and it's to I suppose look at what we first of all have, which is a magnificent Curragh Plains, and we want to make the most of that. We want, when people arrive, that they come in a different way to when they've arrived before. So they're going to come in from the north end and not the east side. So they're immediately going to be presented with the Curragh Plains. They're going to be presented with a new design which is intended to, I suppose, reflect the needs of current entertainment and sport, and to provide a facility which is world class. So people can come on the smallest of days to the biggest of days and feel that they're welcome and feel that there's somewhere for them to come to. And that's something that we hear over and over again, that the Curragh has a great history, but unfortunately some of its facilities have gone into decline. And let's be honest, there are people maybe living within 5 kilometres of the Curragh who don't come to the Curragh, and we want to encourage them to come back as well. So I think there's a great challenge for us, but it's a very exciting time.